Okay, so I've been trying to kind of keep you guys up to date on how things are going and how I'm transitioning since losing my grandmother in September. I know that losing a loved one is not easy, and it never is. Um, and sometimes it's harder when you're really close with somebody, and then sometimes it's harder when you're not so close to somebody because then you regret not ever taking the time that you needed to be close to the person or to go see them when they've asked you to, and you just keep putting it off, thinking that you're going to have time. I'm here to tell you, don't do that. If you truly love somebody and they ask you to come see them, don't say you're going to and then just not show up. Go. Because you may never get that chance again. Life is crazy and things can change at the drop of a hat. Like, my grandmother had been sick off and on for quite some time. So I knew it was just a matter of time, but there was never a win until probably about 2 weeks before she went. I mean, she battled breast cancer like 88 or something like that. And then, in her 90s, she started getting harder to get around and just other things. So, like, we knew it was coming. We knew that the end was close. So, like Christmas, I even told my husband, I was like, this is very important to me that I go. I had missed one Christmas up there because he was working, and I have a strange thing with that side of my family. I don't know what it is. I don't always agree with them. I'm uncomfortable around some of them, not all of them. Sometimes it's because they want to push religion on me when I just wish they would respect me and stop that. I'm 37 years old. It hasn't worked in 37 years. It's not going to work now. And it's not that I hate religion or anything like that. It's completely the opposite. But I have my own thing. And I'm a good person. I don't need to go to church to validate that. But I just didn't like to talk about that with them because they're not open-minded enough to understand what it is on how I feel and how I believe and stuff like that. But so I just chose to kind of stay away. I would go see Granny when they weren't there. I would call her a lot at night when everybody else thought she would be asleep, even my own mother. And we would laugh and talk and just laugh, and I'd get her wound up because that was always funny to me, and she always told me that I was the one that would keep her on her toes and the reason why she was still so spry at her age, even though she felt like she was just tired. And she'd been telling me for years that she was tired. She was just tired. It's all she would ever say. I'm tired. I don't feel good and I'm tired. And she said she feels old, and I always told her she's not old. And then I always ask her, she's what, like 50? I love my granny. I still do. It's hard to speak about her in a past tense setting. And if you don't notice, I'm actually wearing like some snazzy pajamas. I'll get to that. So, holiday tradition for us on Thanksgiving was usually to go to my grandmother's for a little bit and then do whatever else we had to do with families. Well, my husband's family is not really big on get-togethers, and sometimes I would cook at home, or sometimes my mom would cook again later. It just all really depends because my mom's family is so big, and sometimes there wasn't enough food prepared for the number of people that showed up. And having a child with food allergies, that really limited how much he could eat, and because of the way that I eat, I wasn't always full when we left. And I don't eat a lot of pies, like pumpkin pie, stuff like that. It was something Granny always cooked. My son loves pumpkin pies. My husband loves pecan pies, and I like caramel cake. Hey, but Granny would stay up and make so many pies, even when she wasn't feeling up to it, and she would always try to make me a caramel cake when she had time, because she made everything herself. The cake, she handmade the icing and everything. I've got her recipe, and I can do it, but it's hard, especially making icing. But, so that's what we would usually do for Thanksgiving. And then on Christmas Eve, everybody in my family would show up at my grandmother's. People that I would normally not even see at other family gatherings. It was like they were there because they knew they would be getting presents or whatever. Maybe they were really there for legitimate reasons to see family or whatever. But somebody counted one time 75 people were there. And now that's been some time ago, and there's been some new ones born into the family. So that's a lot of people. And I would get really nervous in that kind of setting, because a lot of them are a lot alike, which, is kind of mainstream society. They had those, jobs, bankers and working in law firms. I've got a cousin that is a lawyer and a politician, and 3 uncles that work for the post office. They're retired now, but anyway, then my mother is nothing like hardly any of that. She's very similar to her older brother, who she worked with for years at Levi's until they shut down. And then you've got me. All of my other cousins are very well off. They married, I don't want to say into money, because that makes them sound like they're gold diggers, but I mean, they did end up marrying people that were well off, but they also themselves come from well off families. Here I am, 37. I've been divorced twice and on my 3rd marriage. I'm not ashamed of that. Everybody knows why I left my 2nd husband. I'm not going to stay with anybody who puts their hands on me. So yeah, I don't hide my imperfections. I never have. And with some of them, they wanted to. And I could go into stories, but I'm not going to drag anybody's name through anything. I don't even know if anybody really watches this that would know, other than I know my mom watches these from sometimes. So hi, Mom. I'm not going to, don't worry, I'm not going to give you a heart attack and start throwing names out there. But, so yeah, there was a bit of a difference there. I had a cousin who I adored, Kevin, who passed away some years ago. My daughter was just a baby. She's 14 now, so it gives you a little insight. I really liked him. He played death metal, played guitar amazingly well, so we had a lot in common. But other than that, I go to see my granny. I mean, I could see my mom anytime I go to her house, but I go to see Granny. That was the whole reason why I went. And I've said for years, once Granny goes, I probably won't ever see any of those people besides my mom ever again, because my Granny was kind of the glue that held everyone together, and nobody's going to want to try to take over that position of, not that Granny was really doing a whole lot there for the past few years. Everybody would kind of pitch in and help, but nobody wants to take the responsibility of being the host. Which, I mean, that's fine. It was getting to the point that the only time the whole family got together anyway was Christmas, because everybody else has their own families and family stuff to do anyway. But it's been, 37 years. I've known these same things, And so I've been upset, because I'm like, what do we do? I mean, I can't necessarily cook at the last minute, because we've got to order a new, my oven works, but it just takes forever to cook right now, because we only have one heating element. I've got to get another one. And the place is only open certain times where we know to get it, and we keep forgetting to go by there. But, so, trying to get that fixed and then buy up all the food at the last minute was just impossible. So, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to impose on anybody by asking, because we ended up actually having dinner last year with my ex-husband's family, which was fine, but I didn't want to go through that again, and he didn't even go to his own his own parents' house for Thanksgiving. And he, you know, we talked about that, but, you know, just like, my kids have to have a Thanksgiving. So we were at the point that we discussed having it catered, you know, like calling Cracker Barrel, because we live right next to one, and having them do the turkey and the side fixings or whatever, because a lot of places do that for us, and then us just eating that way. And he even said that he was considering that, and then my mom was like, look, I'll cook. Just come on up here and I'll cook. And I said, okay. And I've not really been around my mom much since my grandmother passed. Actually, I don't think I've been around her at all except for at the services. And it's not because I was avoiding her. I mean, there's just been, and as you guys know, there's been so much going on between everybody being sick and band and everything going on. Well, we went up there last night. We had an absolute blast. My mom was wonderful. I enjoyed spending time with her. It was bittersweet in a way. Going through all the things that she had brought back from my grannies. I don't know if it was just handed to her or what, but going through a lot of the knickknacks and having flashbacks of memories of me being a little child and some of the things that she had that I would play with or that I would clean for, because she would always give me a wet washcloth. She said when I was little, she could give me a wet washcloth to pretend like I was cleaning, or old magazines, some scissors, or some old fabric and a needle and thread, and I was easy to please. My granny kept me a lot. My mother worked on Saturdays. Just a big story. And I was really close to my grandfather too, who passed away sadly when I was only 4. But, so, you know, I was looking at these things, and I'm like, I remember this stuff so much. And a lot of them were salt and pepper shakers. And my mom's like, take them, take them, take them. I'm like, I don't want to take all your stuff. You know, I mean, that's her mom. And, I did agree to take this ceramic September doll that has sapphires and the flower bouquet. And then Mom sent home the Alice in Wonderland figurine, and we could tell it was a bit older because of, there's just something about ceramics. You can tell when something is older rather than newer, because newer ceramics are a little bit heavier in the way they're made. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But, so I brought those home, and then she sent some of these, like, little standees that were put out by Mattel for one of the Barbie anniversaries, I want to say around 1993, and this was the 1959 collection. She sent those to my daughter, and my son wanted a plant, so Mom gave him an ivy that had been started by, I want to say, one of my uncles, and then pieced off and sent to my grandmother, and actually been growing for 17 years. And there's actually been pieces of that plant that's been started by other members of our family, so it's kind of something that links the family together in a way. And so my son wanted that, so we got that. And Ivy's pretty easy to take care of, so no biggies there. When I got home, and my husband and my son went out for a minute, and it was just me and my daughter here, and I was going through everything that my mom sent. Oh, that's her calling. Okay, sorry, this video has kind of been pieced together. Mom called and interrupted the original story. So I was sitting at home going through stuff that Mom sent home for me, which I'm kind of weird because, like, I do have, that gold ring is actually 2 rings in one. It was my grandmother's last wedding set when she married her 3rd husband. Now, my grandmother never divorced. Her other husbands had passed away. She gave me that when I was married, and, you know, I appreciate it, I love it, I cherish it, but I'm a weirdo that is more attached to personal items, pajamas being one thing, because that's something that I love. So, like, I even have some of my grandfather's pajamas who passed away when I was 4, so Mom sent home some towels because Granny just had a lot of towels, and Mom thought that we needed towels. I thought we needed more towels. My husband apparently had bought more towels and I hadn't paid attention. So now we have a lot more towels. But I was like, Mom, do you have any of her gowns? Because I know she used to wear gowns and housecoats all the time. My mom said, well, no, she didn't have any gowns left. She always just had pajamas, but I sent some of them home to you too. Which, these are my grandmother's. And, yes, I'm out, but I'm not going in stores like this. See, check out the hair. But, we were laughing, going through them because my grandmother was so short. She used to be, I think, around 5'4" or so, but throughout the years, you know, with arthritis and stuff, she was shorter. She was under 5 foot, and we were laughing because anything that wasn't like Missy's or petite, that's shorter in the legs, she would, or capri length, she would cut them off. So, and me and my daughter are long-legged, so they look like capris on us. But, you know, it's just, it's sweet. And this was a pair of her pajamas, and I have some more. I have some that's not even been opened. That bought them for her when she started losing weight. Because Granny was never a big woman at all. My Granny was always small, but for a little bit where she was retaining water, she was a little rounder than she was before she passed. But when she passed, I don't think she weighed 100 pounds. But the ones that she has are that weren't wore or hadn't been even taken out was like a size small, and then there was some fuzzy socks and stuff in there. So I went through those and cried and everything, just loved it. But I'll have to finish this again soon. So okay, I guess the thing behind the story is, I'm sorry, I've been eating donuts, is grief is hard. There's no set time on when it's going to end. Sometimes you may never stop hurting, but it just gets easier to deal with from day to day. My mom seems to be doing better. I think she just got lonesome, so I'm going to try my best to be there for her more often. Thanksgiving went well, so I'm hoping that we can get everything done that we normally would do on Christmas Day early during Christmas Eve morning, and then spend the evening with my mom on Christmas Eve night like we would for my grannies, and then come home and go to sleep. That way we can just enjoy our Christmas Day home, where the kids can enjoy their things instead of feeling rushed and having to get out of the house and not being able to really play with the things that they may have gotten, or use the things they may have gotten, because we have to go out for the day to visit family that we didn't see on Christmas Eve. And, you know, I mean, Granny's going to be missed, and it's not going to be easy to get over, and I'll try to keep you guys updated on how I deal with things. It's just a lot easier for me to talk about them, not necessarily with my therapist, but just other people that's experienced the same kind of loss. I have found through just being open and talking about it that a lot of my friends have experienced losses like this that's kind of affected them more long term than just like a short term thing, you know, where it kind of, I mean, this really affected not just our emotional state of she's gone, but, you know, it changed a lot of aspects of our lives when it comes to the holidays and stuff like that. And her and Aiden and my dad's birthdays were so close together. Like, Aiden's was one day, my dad's was the next day, and then the day after that was my grandmother's. So there's always going to be that too. I just have to keep reminding myself that all these dreams, because I've been waking up a lot, and that's what I was telling my therapist, I wake up a lot. It's not that I'm having bad dreams. It's that I have dreams that wake me up in a panic, and she's in them, and other people are too. And he went over the list of medication in the morning. He's like, I can't put you on anything any heavier. I'd have to send you to a sleep clinic. And I'm like, well, I know I can't really afford that. I've been to a sleep clinic before. I don't have sleep apnea, so that's the good thing. But I'm just not getting enough rest. But, you know, all I knew to do was just to talk and get it out, and hopefully one day probably won't feel 100% better, but things will get easier. It's just, instead of giving up and rolling over and being miserable, it's actually trying and depending on those that you love to understand and be there for you. And that's the most, but also don't put things off and don't wait. If you say you're going to do something, do it, because it's better to do it and go out of your way than to not do it and then have that on your mind that, you know, you had all these chances and you didn't do it because maybe it was a little out of your way, or you just didn't feel like getting out of the house that day. You wanted to sit in your pajamas and watch TV when you could have went and seen them, and now you don't have that chance anymore. And I seriously think that all those times that Granny always promised that she would never leave me, she still hasn't left me. She's still with me. She's just not in a physical state. And what a better guardian angel than my grandmother. You know, both of my grandparents on my dad's side passed. I'm sure they're watching over me, and I get accused of being just like my dad's mom. Even my mom says I look like her as I get older. You know, our ancestors, I don't know how many of y'all believe this, but our ancestors are who guides us through life and protects us. So, have a good team. I would rather keep them here with me, but I know even though their physical body isn't here, their spiritual body is, and that's one good thing to remember. And two, whenever the sadness hits, sometimes even if it makes you cry, just remember the good things. Because sometimes, yes, the good things are going to make you cry, but that's not bad tears. You know, just remember the good times. It's what they would want you to do anyway. They don't want you to wallow around in self-pity and, you know, making yourself depressed or sick or any of that fun stuff. I know my grandmother would smack me in the head and ask me what the hell was wrong with me. Maybe not in those exact words, just depending on what kind of mood she's in. I miss her. She was a great woman, and I wish everybody had a chance to meet her. Same thing goes with my Aunt Tammy. She was a great woman. Two of the greatest women I ever lived. Couldn't be any more different than those two were. Both great women in their own right, and I miss them so much, but I'm lucky that I had the time with them that I had and learned as much as I did from them. So, I hope somebody takes something from this and is able to use it to help themselves. And if anybody has any problems, or they're grieving, or they've got a lost one, you know, or just lost a loved one, if you want to reach out and talk to me, I'm here. There's several ways to get a hold of me. There's plenty of links below to get in contact with me. You can message me on here. My real name is the name of the channel, so you can find me on Facebook, on my personal page that way. Just send me a quick message and say, yo, I found you on YouTube. So yeah, there's that. I'm always here if you need somebody to talk to. Maybe we can figure things out together and maybe get over this a little faster. So if this is anybody's first time here, not everything's like this. You can go through my channel and see that. Subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, share. It's greatly appreciated. Any money that comes off this channel goes on to paying doctor bills, and anything beyond that is donated. So yeah, thank you guys. Love you all.